Hello, Plano Camera Club. This is Tom Savage. I'm your judge for the October print competition. Each category is open, and so in this case, that's a good thing for me because the kind of photography I like to do is not represented in any of the prints. So you don't have to worry about me picking out my favorite subjects. I heard a judge one time say that landscapes always win because he likes landscapes. Well, to me, that's a bad judge. So anyway, there's no pressure on me to pick out or not pick out some of my favorite subjects because I like wildlife and I like sports. Well, none of which are represented here. So that's good. For everybody, including me, because I don't have to worry about that. So let's get right to it. First category I'm going to judge is entry. And we're going to start at the lowest scoring prints and work our way up to the number one. And I'll make my comments about each one, and again, recognize that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that includes art, which is photography. So what you think is great, I may not agree with that at all, or what I think is great, you may not agree with it. So we'll just have to live with that, because that's just the way we all are. However, what I intend to do here is talk about each one, each image, each print, and give you my reason for scoring it like I did. And also, since in my opinion, the reason for even having critiques is to try to improve on our photography. So if I think I can improve that image, I'll tell you what I would do to what I would think would improve it. Again, you may not agree with that, but that's what I intend to do. So when we get to the point of where we have some that I don't think I could improve, then it's just a matter of me trying to decide, well, how do I compare one that is really good to another one that is really good, and they may be different subjects. So I'm trying to then look at each one, for instance, a landscape versus a portrait. I'll try to say to myself, well, is this good portrait as good as it could possibly be, and is it compared to the landscape being good as it could possibly be, compared to a perfect landscape or compared to a perfect portrait? And then I'll just have to do my best in picking out which I think is the best of those. So here we go. We got entry, seven prints in entry. The first one is called Glass Drops, and I gave that a score of 8. The score was primarily because a lot of the image is out of focus, and it didn't have a primary subject, so it was kind of difficult to know what I'm supposed to look at, but probably 80% of the print is out of focus, so I think it would be much better if more of it was in focus and you had something, maybe a bigger drop, or something that would be the center of interest there. It's called Garden's Royal Window, and I gave that a score of 10. I think that could be improved if more of it was in the depth of field, more was in focus. And also, I think it would be better if the butterfly were a little more prominent. It's a little bit lost in all the flowers. Also, there's a bright spot in the upper left corner that is pretty distracting. So if you could remove all the bright area in the upper left corner, and if you could have figured out a way of getting the butterfly at a little better angle where he could all be sharp and all be in focus, and maybe not have so much of the flower out of focus, that would be better. Is called Zebra, and I gave that a score of 10. It's all in focus, and the exposures are fine. At the angle you're at, the eye doesn't really come across as he's looking at you or looking at something. He's kind of halfway closed. It's not as prominent as it could be, and even with that, it's not terribly interesting, because I think that is one thing you need in art or in a photograph, is something that would be interesting, maybe a little different, or something that's very, very well done. Well, this is not badly done. Everything is sharp and the colors are right and all, but it's just not terribly interesting. and it's called Triangular Stairway. I gave that a score of 13. There's two things about it, though, that I wish were a little different. The right side piece that's at an angle going off to the left is very, very bright, and that dominates the image. Tone that down a little where it's not quite as bright to look at. As it is, you're not real sure what to look at here because there's a lot of stuff on the outside. I don't know whether, I guess there's stairways. Maybe concentrate just on the triangle and not so much other stuff around the outside, and also tone down the whites a little bit. It's the third place. This one I looked at a lot, and it mystified me a little bit. I know in this category you can change anything, but one thing that kept this from scoring actually higher with a score of 13, but I could be higher. But I felt like that the guy in there was put in there, but it looked like he was maybe out of perspective. He's too big, a little bit phony. But other than that, it's really a good image. Okay, the next print is called Which One Do I Want? And that is a score of 14 in second place. I like the coloration here. It looks kind of an orangey like sunlight. I think the hair needs to be burned down a little. It's a little bright in the top where the sun hits the top of her head, and she has a nice smile on her face, although I'm not sure her hand and finger in her mouth really helps it any, and I'm not sure what all the out of focus stuff in the front of her is, but nonetheless it's a very cute image. And so the number one, first place, with a score of 15 for this category of entry, is a weathered tree in salt marsh. Very good black and white. Nice composition, good sky. Printing is very good and is very, very sharp. You can see all the grass. It just shows you how important it is to have clouds in the sky. If you don't have the clouds, you really don't have much. But this image is just enough clouds, and it's very well printed, and the tones are really good. So it's a very nice image. It's called Cedar Waxwing in My Neighborhood, and I gave that a score of 8. It got a low score because there's a texture on it that really is very distracting. It kind of blurs the face of the bird and blurs his head and his feathers, so it really takes away from the quality of the image. Without the texture, I think it would be much, much better. And it looks like it's a pretty sharp image, so you could actually crop out a lot of the green and just hone in more on the bird without the texture. It would be a much superior image. It's called Blue Glass Waterfall. I gave that a score of 9. A score of 9. It says it's just a good image. Nothing spectacular, not terrible. I'm not sure what to make of this one. There's no central subject. It's very difficult to see exactly sort of what it is. It says it's a waterfall, but the colors are very muted. I think it would be maybe a little better if the purple was a little brighter and a little more saturated, but you might want to try all that and just see if you could beef it up a little. It's called Route's End. This is actually pretty interesting. It looks like it's a simulated, really old print. It's kind of dull looking, and the colors are muted just like an old aged print would be. But I think to make it a little better in terms of competition, you would need to increase the contrast a little to where the brights were a little brighter. It just comes across as very, very dull. The next print is called Show Me a Happy Face, and it has a score of 9. Again, a nice, ordinary image. Nothing horrible about it, but nothing really great about it either. I think the pose could be a lot better with this little girl. The lighting's pretty flat on her. She's not looking at the camera, she's looking off to one side, and I think maybe pull back and not quite be so close so she wouldn't cut off the top of her head, and have her look at the camera, and that would be a little better. The next print is called Top of the Morning Glory, and I gave that a score of 10. I think this could be improved a whole lot. Some way you could take out that brown kind of almost a square branch of a tree or a board or whatever that is, what they're wrapped around, because it's pretty distracting right in the middle of the image, and there's an awful lot of the image that's out of focus. If you could crop in somewhat, and if possible, well, you couldn't. The biggest problem is they're just too much out of focus, and then there's a big distraction from the tree branch in the middle. Next print is Horseshoe Bend, and I gave that a score of 12. Nice print. It's technically good. Everything's sharp. It should be sharp. The coloration is good. The only problem with it in terms of being a real winner is that there just needs to be more pizzazz in it. It's real flat, something to attract your attention a little bit more. And the center rock area again is not real attractive. It's just it's what it is. The next print is called Grand Tetons and Snake River. I gave that a score of 12 and an honorable mention. I love the sky and the mountains. Really nice, very, very nice, and nice time of day. It's getting on to be late in the day, but not sunset. However, I guess this for me, from being a higher scoring, was the coloration on some of the evergreen trees look a little funky to me. The mountains and the sky are really, really nice, very nice. The next print is called Into the Blue, and that's also an honorable mention, and gave it a score of 13. I congratulate the maker for having very fine little twigs and leaves on the tree, and you didn't over sharpen it where there's no sharpening halos around all of that, but yet they're real sharp, so did a good job there. Very nice, and it looks like there might have been a very slight longer exposure to where the ocean is a little bit blurry, a little bit like it's moving. Well, that's good too. The next image is called Looking Glass. That's third place, and I also gave that a 13. Very nice coloration here. There's nothing really vivid, which is good because it just fits right in with the young girl. It's all technically very good. Everything that's sharp, it's supposed to be sharp, is sharp. The skin color, skin tone is very nice, and very nice printing. So again, third place, a score of 13. The next print is called Ranunculus in Vase, and I gave that a score of 14, and it's second place. However, to tell you the truth, the first place and the second place were almost dead even, and I really had a hard time separating the two. Nonetheless, this is a very, very good image. Absolutely everything in there is sharp. Really nice depth of field. The lighting is very nice. The colors are good. It's a really spectacular image, and there's absolutely nothing in there that shouldn't be in there, and it's the organization of the flowers are good. Very, very nice image. Intermediate category is first place with a score of 15, and it's called Done for the Night. This was a very, very good image. Love this. The lighting with the sunset is very, very good, but what really made it was the lighting on the boats. Each boat has a light of some sort, lights itself up, and some of them are kind of a green tint, some are white. Everything is tack sharp, and there's no over sharpening at all. A very spectacular image, and nice reflections in the water. There's no waves, no current, no movement, so you get a lot of nice reflections. If you look all over there, you'll see that absolutely everything in the image is sharp, nice composition. It's a spectacular image. The first one is called Baby, and I gave it a score of 9. The chair behind him with the little curve is kind of a nice touch. Points to the baby and holds it in, so you don't have a lot of blank space back there. However, I think it's not a really great angle on the baby. It's good that he's got his eyes open and all, and he's alert. However, the way he's lying, it doesn't really do justice to his face, and also it makes it difficult to get good lighting on his face. I like the idea of the chair, but he needs to have him up and where he's not lying down sideways like that. The next print is distortion, and I gave it a score of 11. This is a little confusing to me. I'm not sure quite how to deal with it. I don't know whether there's too much distortion or not enough. It seemed like as it is that it just doesn't jump out at me, and it come across as a really top level print. I think if it were mine and I wanted to have distortion, then I might want to try a little more somehow and make it and have the flowers a little more distorted than the bowl. But to just try something a little different, it seemed like it's just not quite there. The next print is chairs. I gave that one a score of 13. This is a really nice concept, but I think the positioning of the chairs could be greatly improved. But I like the idea of shooting from the back with the light on the other side. It makes it very interesting and certainly different. However, the big chair in the front really kind of blocks you from really getting into the image. I would try putting the big chair in front of the other two chairs and making some kind of a triangle out of it. I think that would be a better image if you would do it that way and just try it and see what it would look like. I'm not sure if this came across well or not. I'm getting a pause on the machine. But anyway, this was Badwater Basin, a score of 13. And I said I needed more contrast on the salt. The next print is on the main canal in Venice. This is second place, and I gave it a score of 14. This is a very nice tourist image, very nice travel. It shows you about Venice. It shows you the action and the traffic on the canal, and it's very good light on the buildings. And everything is nice and sharp and in focus, and you even had clouds in the sky. So all in all, a really good photo travel print. And the last print in this section, advanced, is first place with a score of 15, and it's at Fort Leaton. Very nice black and white. Everything is real sharp. All the tack hanging up is very sharp, and it's got good tonality. The blacks are deep, and the texture is on the wall, shows up very well, and the light areas are not blown out. So all in all, a very good black and white print. Congratulations. The next category is masters, and we have 15 prints. The first one is called Split Tree, and I gave that a score of 8. Most of the image is not as sharp as it ought to be, and the highlights are kind of blown out, and there's no texture in them at all. But the biggest problem is there's so much of it is out of focus, out of the depth of field, and we're just out of focus, period. So it has a score of 8. The next print is called Rodeo Start, and I gave that a score of 8, primarily because there was almost nothing in there that was really sharp, not nearly sharp as it should be. The depth of field is shallow, but that's okay, and the horse is not very sharp, but the lady is not in focus, nor the flag. So I don't know whether it's all just lack of focus or whether it's motion blur a little bit, but nonetheless, nothing is really sharp in there, and that's why I gave it a score of 8. Print is called Tuscan Springtime. I gave that a score of 9. This had a lot of potential, but the highlights are just too bright. You've kind of lost the texture. It's just too bright in the tops of these trees, the middle and the right side. It had a great potential because of the trunks of the trees were very nice, but the tops were just blown out and just not enough texture there and not enough contrast in the trees up there. But you might try working on it a little bit and see if you can improve it. The next one's called Early Light. I gave it a score of 9. This one again has great potential. It's got a lot of good things going for it, but it's just too dark. All the rocks are too dark, and I think that if you bring out the highlights a little more and a little more contrast in the rocks, then you can make this a lot better. And the boat in the distance really makes for a much better image, and it gives it something back there instead of just a foggy background. But all in all, I think it's. The next print is Twilight at Sotol Vista, and I gave that a score of 9. This has good potential. It's very interesting with all the contours of the ground, and you had some sky that had some clouds, and the sky was interesting. It wasn't just a bare sky. In my taste, I think it would be way better if you would bring out the highlights in the grass and make them a little brighter. As it is, it's really dark and kind of dull, and I think with a little bit of work, but as it is, it's a nice sharp image. It's got a nice subject. It's just that I think the tonality needs to be improved a little bit. The next image is called Planet Manhattan. Obviously heavily manipulated, I guess, to take Manhattan Island and make it into a circle. And there's the moon up in the sky. This really doesn't do a whole lot for me. It's interesting a little bit, but not enough to give it a really high score. Although it's a good average print, I gave it a score of 9. But I guess for some people they might like this more than I do. But overall, there's no really complaint about it, except it just doesn't strike me as being very interesting. The next print is called Dallas Vortex. Well, this is another one that's heavily photoshopped. That's okay. And you just swirled around the city of Dallas. Well, nice colors, and everything seems to be pretty sharp. The only thing that I think it needs something in the middle. As it is, you're looking all around the edges, and then there's nothing in the middle. And I think it would be better if it were something were there to kind of hold your attention. I gave this a score of 10. The next print is called Sweethearts. I gave that an 11. I looked at this an awful long time, and I have really, the first thing that hit me when I saw that was this big question mark about what is all those yellow things on the wall all around. But the more I looked at it, the more it struck me as looking like the photographer asked two people to go up and kiss just for the photographer. Don't look too serious. And it's like a kiss you might give your 8-year-old daughter as opposed to your sweetheart. All in all, it's well done. I just have questions about all that stuff on the wall. And on the internet, the picture of the little boy is called Hoop. But anyway, it's a well done black and white of this child. I gave it a score of 11. I would think there needs to be a little better light on his face. Texture is good, in that the grass is the background and all, and makes for a nice background, so he doesn't get lost in the background. I think by and large, just maybe a little better light on his face, and burn down the bright light in his hair a little bit, and it would be a little better image. The next print is Schwabacher's Landing. This is in the Tetons, and you get a reflection in the beaver pond. Very nice black and white. I would like to see the highlights on the mountains on the left side toned down a little. I think they're a little too bright. They compete with the clouds, and then you've lost a little texture there because they're so bright. I gave this a score of 11. I would work on this and try it again. It's potentially a good image. Nice clouds in the sky also. The next print is Quebec City. I gave that a score of 12 and an honorable mention. Very, very nice sunset. Nice clouds in the sky. Just enough light on the city and the boat to tell what it is, so it's not all blacked out. What kept this from going a little higher and having a little bit higher score is there's look like sharpening halos along the edge of the hills and to the left side. All in all, a really nice print. The next print is called Deb, and I gave that a score of 13, and it's an honorable mention. Nice bridal portrait. I'm sure the family will and the bride would love it. It's very nicely done. Nice light on her face and her gown. The background's not bad. It's just enough out of focus to keep it from interfering with the bride. Pretty classic bridal type image. Not anything really phenomenal, but a very, very good image. It's just that there are others that are a little more interesting from this competition standpoint. The next print is third place with a score of 13. It's called Architectural Geometry. Very, very nice black and white. The blacks are really black, and the lights are bright, but not blown out. This looks like an image you might see on the wall of a doctor's office or something. it's a little bit, it's very interesting, and so when you look at that, you kind of wonder what am I looking at? And the little bright light down on the lower left really makes it. Without that, it would really not be as good because you wouldn't have something to really catch your attention and make it really interesting. But everything is sharp, and so technically it's very well done. The next print is called New Student Historic School. I looked at this an awful lot, and I thought about this one a whole lot, and I really love it. It looks like an old-time black and white toned image, and they even have the old-time spelling book, the McGuffey Reader. And so everything is set up to look like an old-time print, which I think is really good. So it's very, very well done. What kept it from winning first place, and it's second place now with a score of 14, but what kept it from first place was the bright light right over the top of her hat and the little flower that's on her hat that's a little bit too bright. It doesn't fit with the rest of the image. And first place in Masters with a score of 15 is Bow Fiddle Arch. This is a very, very good black and white, and whenever I look at these, I always look to see, well, do I think I can improve it? Well, this one I could not. I think it was done very, very well. It's got good clouds, it's got good texture, and it's got very nice contrast on the rocks. And the water has been slowed down, so it's kind of a creamy feel to it. So it's a very, very good image. Congratulations. Best of show is done for the night, which is the intermediate first place image. I really liked this. When I first saw it, I really set that aside because I said this is a really great image and nothing could beat it. I looked at everything, comparing everything to this, and this is the one I like the best of all. I like the lighting on the boats, the colored lights. Some of them are green, some are light or white, and obviously the sky is really good and a lot of nice texture and a lot of sharpness everywhere. There's nothing out of the depth of field. There's nothing that's not sharp. So congratulations on a really good image. Thank you very much for allowing me to judge your prints. It was very enjoyable to see all your work. There's a whole lot of good work here, and there's some that needs to be improved, but they could be improved. Anyway, by and large, good work. Thank you.